This entitled mum refuses to pick up her dog's poop left on her neighbor's patio. But this neighbor has a scheme for revenge that will leave the entitled mum wishing she'd never messed with her. Happy birthday if today's your birthday, and on with the show. The background. My husband's come from a poor background, as in he could not attend college because he had to take up a job in our country's defense forces the moment he was 18. I, on the other hand, come from a middle-class family, as in could attend college and even have a master's degree, but nothing super fancy. We were married, arranged marriage, when I was 24 and he was 25. Before our marriage, all my husband's salary went directly to his family. That means 7 years of income, people, a major part of which actually went to his brother-in-law, as he was too special to find a job, also could not keep one for longer than a year. When I came to my husband's house, my brother-in-law already had 4 children with his wife pregnant with the 5th. My brother-in-law's credit was a mess, as he'd taken multiple loans for funding his alcoholic, holier-than-thou lifestyle, and my husband was a complete pushover with no spine of his own to speak up for himself. It took me 2 years and a toddler, blessed with a baby boy, to force him to grow a spine, as now he had a family of his own and needed to care for it. I had to make him understand that he can no longer send 90% of our income to his brother and force us to the brink of bankruptcy, as his brother cannot afford his own lifestyle. Slowly and slowly, my husband stopped sending them any money, as his parents had enough income to maintain themselves, and it was high time for his brother to get his lazy butt and do some crap. The main story. Now, this is the main event that took place about 5 years ago, when my husband was 30, that forced us to go no contact with my in-laws and a major part of my husband's family. My brother-in-law now had 5 children, blessed with all girls, was on brink of bankruptcy, and had already used a major part of the inheritance that was going to be passed down from his parents. This interaction took place on my first 2 nieces' wedding. They had a joint wedding and reception, as brother-in-law didn't have the money for 2 separate weddings. EM to husband. You should start helping your brother again, as he is having a lot of troubles with funds lately. We're in a pretty tight spot ourselves, Mom especially with Ellen. Me, pregnant with the 2nd child.
Well, you should help your brother even more, as you know what it feels like to be with a pregnant woman. After all, we're also expecting.
What? You are pregnant again? My actual words.
What do you mean, daughter-in-law? Aren't you happy? It can actually be a boy this time. Not everyone is as lucky as you, who gets a boy on the first chance.
Me flabbergasted. What are you talking about? I won't treat a daughter any differently than a son.
Well, you can say that since you already have a son.
I don't care about EB's and ES's lifestyle choices, but I can't share any more money with them, as I have my own family now. We need to save to buy a house, start son's college fund, etc.
You don't have any right to speak about your brother like that. He is trying to improve.
A lie.
He also has responsibilities.
Right, as if he knows what responsibilities are.
You bitch! You dare speak about my husband like that?
Everyone was now looking at us. She gets into my face and actually tries to punch a very pregnant me. Husband stopping her mid-air. You dare? She's pregnant, and even if she was not, how could you think that you can punch her? Me, shocked plus angry. We shall leave now. I don't think we're welcome at this wedding anymore. Husband follows me without speaking any other thing. We got many vile and abusive messages, and even threats from his side of the family, on how we spoiled our niece's marriage, and how family always comes first. Fortunately, we had never given my in-laws our address, and even if they could get it somehow, no one would have had the money for the plane ticket, as we lived at the geographically opposite corner of the country at that time. Also, we've shifted twice since then and have blocked out most of his side of the family, leaving out some of the sensible cousins and uncle and aunts, etc., and informed everyone on my side of the family, plus our friends, to maintain absolutely no contact with them. I'm not too sure why he felt the obligation to give 90% of his paycheck to these people. He must have also been earning a fair bit and living pretty cheaply to only live on 10%. If his family was in such great need and it was for a short period of time, you can kind of understand. But he's got his own family he has to think about and look after. Not only that, but it's only because of the laziness of the husband from the other family that they needed the help in the first place. It's not like there was a health crisis or there was no one there to support the family. He just didn't want to do it. And they really tried to turn around and make them look like the bad guys. No wonder there's no longer any contact. So this happened at the last apartment complex I lived in. My significant other and I were renting a ground floor unit at a really nice apartment complex. I wouldn't say it was a luxury apartment or anything, but our ground floor unit had a little patio off the back that led out to a really nice courtyard area with hammocks, a walking path, outdoor fireplace/seating area, etc. A lot of people walk their dogs out there, or let their kids play out there in the grass, including us. We have a 1-year-old Cane Corso. We got her when we'd been living in the unit for about 2.5 months, and she was only 8 weeks at the time. She's a really good dog and we trained her well. We could let her out to go potty and she'd come right back even if there were distractions, people, dogs, out. We always stood on the patio and watched her anyways, because our pet agreement said we couldn't leave our dog unattended. Then we'd go pick up her poop right away if she pooped. Also part of the pet agreement, as I'm sure is standard at most apartment complexes. We kept a small step trash can outside, specifically for her poop bags, because we didn't want to throw them away inside, and the only outside trash cans were on the other side of the building, which I agree is super dumb. It really was a small trash can, like the kind you tuck into the bathroom between the toilet and the wall. We also had her poop bags hanging out at our patio door handle for easy access, so we didn't have to hunt for them every time we needed them. EM and her EK moved in on the ground floor in our building, 2 units down from us. No biggie. We ran into her one day carrying in groceries, and my significant other held open the door for her. She seemed kind of Karenish, but was polite, and her kids, probably 10 or 11 years old, didn't look up from his phone. Whatever, that's pretty typical of kids these days. They also had a dog, a little black and white fluffy thing. Super cute, but not trained very well. Don't know what kind of dog, but it was much smaller than our already giant puppy. After about 2 weeks or so, we realized that there were dog turds in the grass right off our patio. We found out the hard way because my boyfriend stepped in it the first time. Luckily he wasn't barefoot. They were clearly not our dog's turds, as number 1, we always picked up her poop right after she went, and number 2, they were very obviously from a small dog, not our 70-pound puppy. We'd been in the apartment about 7 to 8 months at that point, and we never had an issue with this, so we figured it was EM's little dog. I wrote her a polite note that basically was like, "Hey neighbor, we noticed that some of your dog's poops aren't being picked up and are right off our patio. Per the pet agreement we all have to sign, we all need to be picking up our own dog's poop each time they go. I'm sure it was an accident and you just didn't notice. If so, could you make sure to do that going forward? We'd appreciate it. Your neighbor's in unit number." She wasn't home, so I slipped it under the door and went back to my apartment. A couple hours later, EM is banging on my door and gets really angry with me. Insists that it couldn't have been her dog and how dare I assume. I felt really bad and apologized immediately. Said I didn't mean to offend her and it must have been someone else. She told me never to bother her with crap like this again, and stormed off. I was like, okay? Not 3 days later, I was sitting on my patio with a book, enjoying the cool weather, when I see their little dog run out of their back door. No one with it, and it comes over to me. I said hello to the pup, because I love pups, and then it took a crap right off the patio, ran back home, and scratched the door to be let in. I saw EK slide the door open enough to let the dog in, and then closed it again, without coming outside to pick up the poop. I was annoyed because I saw it with my own eyes that it was their dog, and no one was even watching it when it was outside. So I grabbed a poop bag, picked up the poop, wrote another, less polite note about EM's kid neglecting to watch the dog, or come to check if it had pooped/pick up after it, and dropped the poop bag and the note on their patio right by the door, then went back to my reading. EM was quicker to come by this time and stomped right up to me, waving the note around, then stated that her kid was just a kid and probably just forgot to check. I said I didn't care. Her kid was old enough to stand outside for 3 minutes and come pick up the dog's poop. She said, well, there's no poop bags or trash cans on this side of the building, and she didn't feel comfortable making her kid walk all the way around the building for that. The next part is my own fault in hindsight. I suggested she put a trash can like mine on her patio and leave their own poop bags handy like we do for our dog. She eyed our stuff, huffed some more, rolled her eyes, refused to do anything about the poop, and walked off. At this point, I was super annoyed. I stalked my patio door for the next couple of days as much as I could, just waiting. And sure enough, on day 2 in the evening, when I was about to give up, I see the puppy run outside towards my patio. I whipped out my phone, took some pictures of the dog outside alone, not allowed, and the dog pooping, and then took another phone an hour later of the poop, still there, and timestamped all of them. Then I sent an email to the apartment office people, who were always pretty nice, and they responded quickly that they would give EM a warning about it. And sure enough, EM comes back again, to get mad and yell at me about how petty I was to report them to the office, and now they had a $150 fine for not picking up their dog poop. It's worth noting that these fines are rare. Poop prints were not used at this complex. In order for the office to fine someone for dog poop, they had to have proof it was that specific tenant's dog poop and that it wasn't picked up. Hence the photos I'd taken and timestamped. I told her that I had tried to be nice about it with her twice before, and it was her own fault at that point for not abiding by the terms of the pet agreement that we all had to sign. Everyone who had a dog, at least. She went off about how she's a single mom and she works during the day, and her precious baby can't be expected to pick up after their dog. I told her that a 10 or 11-year-old was plenty old enough to pick up after a dog, and that if they weren't responsible enough, then maybe the kid shouldn't be letting the dog out at all, and she should be the one to do it, and maybe whoever is home with him should be looking after it. She got angry, told me I had no idea how to be a single mum, that her mum stays with him during the day and shouldn't be expected to look after the kid and her dog, and she stomped off. I expected to hear more about it, but I didn't. The ironic part is that I am a single mum. My kid isn't my significant other's, and I raised him alone for 2.5 years before I met my significant other. So yes, I do know how hard it is, and I live 1,000 miles from my closest family, so I never even had the luxury of being able to have my mum watch my kid. Over the next couple of weeks, we didn't find any more dog turds off our patio, but we did notice our poop bags were depleting, and our trash can filling up way more quickly than usual. I had my suspicions and wanted to test it. We had recently bought some small security cameras for inside our apartment for different reasons, and I had my boyfriend set one up outside on the patio. We faced it where it could see our door and trash can, but didn't point it to the rest of the courtyard or other people's units. We respect privacy around here. Sure enough, the same evening my boyfriend set it up, I see EK walk onto our patio, take a poop bag, walk out of frame, and then come back to throw it in our trash can. Okay, now I'm ticked, but also not trying to fight this lady or her kid. So I move the poop bags to the inside door handle. It's a glass door so you can still see them, but we always lock our sliding door. Next morning I hear someone knocking on the back patio door, and I go to see EK standing there, looking annoyed. I didn't open the door, I just spoke loudly enough to ask what did he need. He demanded a poop bag for his dog's poop. I said I'm sorry, but these are our poop bags for our dog, and they weren't free for anyone else to use. The apartment provides poop bags in a dispenser near the trash can on the other side of the building. Kid starts demanding a poop bag, saying his mum told him he could use ours, slapping his hands on the glass a few times, trying to scare me? Yes, I'm so terrified of a 10-year-old boy. And finally screaming at me that he's telling his mother on me. I said fine, go ahead. I'll tell her the same thing. Sure enough, a few minutes later, EM is standing on my patio also demanding a poop bag for her dog's poop. I denied her a bag and asked her to please step off of my patio as she was making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. My significant other wasn't home. She told me I was a bratty child, I'm 24, and she demanded I let her use my poop bags as I had already told her she could before. I said no, I told you to get some yourself and do what I do. Keep them close by and put your own trash can on your own patio. Not use the bags I buy with my own money for my own dog and then fill up my tiny trash can with your dog's poop. I pointed out she could use a plastic shopping bag if she didn't want to buy her own poop bags. or she could use the bags the complex provided on the other side of the building. She kept going off on me, and I finally told her if she didn't leave my patio, I'd call the police as she was harassing me. The apartment office was closed on Sundays, and of course it was Sunday. She acted like she was going to call my bluff, but then my boyfriend got home and walked up behind me to ask what was going on, and she ended up dragging her kid away again, leaving the poop in the grass off my patio. So once she was gone, I took another time-stamped picture of the dog poop, downloaded the footage from my security camera of her kids stealing my poop bags and throwing them in my trash can, and the footage from them that morning yelling at me and demanding my bags and my denying them, and emailing all of it to the apartment management. I told them that she made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable in my own home, that she and her child felt entitled to come onto my patio and take my belongings. I also went outside, picked up her dog's poop, looked in the trash can on my patio, and pulled out the bags with her dog's poop. They were significantly smaller than my dog's poop, and I'm sure any dog owner could tell the difference in poops of a 12-pound dog and 70-pound dog. I went and opened all the bags and dumped the poops straight onto her patio, right outside the door. On Monday, I heard back from the office lady who said she would take care of it. By Friday, there was a moving truck, and EM and her EK were moving out. Pretty sure they were evicted. After talking to some of our other, much friendlier neighbors, it turns out we weren't the only ones who had been complaining about her. They'd only lived in the complex for like 2 to 3 months before they made so many enemies they were kicked out. Sometimes I think I should feel bad for playing a part of them getting evicted, but honestly, I can't bring myself to feel guilty about it. Not my fault, as she was a lazy, entitled fitch who couldn't even be bothered to get a shopping bag to pick up her dog's crap. I never heard from her about the turds I dropped on her patio, but I like to think she stepped in them without looking and knew better than to come complain to me about it. Sorry, not sorry. It doesn't feel fair that reasonable people should have to live next to people like this. I'd like to think we could create some sort of social order where all the nice people get to live with each other, and all of the entitled parents, they have to live with all of each other's own misery in the same apartment complex. I know that's an impossibility because, you know, we all have our own elements of entitlement from time to time, but I think we could all agree with the sentiment that if that were possible, that would be really nice. Submit your story to be read on the channel at voiceyherestories@gmail.com and join our Voicey veteran community at r/VoiceyHere. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode. Alright, Voicey veterans, I'll see you in the next one.